Hi, welcome to the Get Ready with God podcast. My name is Julie Taylor, and I'm your host, and I am not God. Obviously, I'm not an expert. I'm not even a scriptorian. I'm literally just a girl sitting in front of a microphone, hoping God is real. The Get Ready with God podcast is the daily devotional podcast to help you see divinity in every day. We're going to interrupt our normal programming where we talk about Eminem every episode and talk about Post Malone instead. It's not actually about Post Malone, but I want to talk about hope and Post Malone because here's what happened. Last weekend, I went to a music festival, and Saturday night, we went to see Post Malone. He was headlining the festival that night, and there was a weather delay. And so it was like raining and hailing. So we were sitting in our car. I was with my niece. We sat in the car for a few hours, and then they posted that they were feeling optimistic. And so we were like, great, let's go get in line because they're feeling optimistic. And then they said they'd update us soon. So then we went and we waited out in the cold and rainy area, met up with my other friend, Lexi, and we were waiting in the rain. And I think we were in the rain for 3-4 hours. I'm not trying to be dramatic, so correct me if I'm wrong, but many hours. My niece, Maya, is pregnant. The poor girl had to pee in the parking lot. She told me I could tell this story because the porta potties were flooded and they wouldn't let us into the venue where there were flush toilets, and it was dark and it was raining. And so she is peeing in a parking lot, and me and Lexi have our jackets open and umbrellas open trying to hide her unsuccessfully. And we were just all there together with a lot of strangers and a lot of hope. And hope is actually what I want to talk about because at the end of the night, they finally canceled the show. So we had waited for hours and stood in the rain for seemingly nothing. And we went home not getting to see Post Malone and with no refund, just sorry, SOL. Sucks to suck. And I was driving home and I was telling Maya, my niece, I was like, I actually had a great time. And she's like, me too. We were disappointed. There was disappointment. But it was really interesting because there's a lot of people who, for one reason or another, didn't go to the show that night. And so I saw a lot of stuff online about oh my gosh, I'm so glad I didn't go. I'm so glad I didn't go. What a waste. And it was really funny because I was like, oh, I don't feel that way. I don't feel that way at all. I don't feel like it was a night wasted. It was cold. It was uncomfortable. It was disappointing for sure. But I'm, attending therapy right now. And basically the whole point of therapy for me is to learn how to experience joy again and have hope again because it's been hard. And so I was talking with my therapist about hope. And so I was talking about the loss of hope. And I think the loss of hope is the most painful loss of my life. And I can't give you enough context to make that make sense right now. Someday we can have that conversation after you've read my book. But it's just too long of a conversation. But the loss of hope to me in such a traumatic way has been the hardest thing for me to overcome, and trying to learn how to hope again when you're working in a hopeless situation, like a death. You can't actually find hope again in a death in the way that you want. Anyways, as I was unpacking this, I really thought, what was so fun about Post Malone night is that we all had hope. We kept waiting in the rain because we had hope. All of us and these strangers, there was this collective hope of, we think we're going to see Post Malone tonight. So we'll keep staying in this uncomfortable, terrible situation because we think we're going to see Post Malone. And how fun is it to hope? And I just kept finding myself as the night got later and it was looking less and less likely, I still was just no, there's still hope. There's still hope. And it was fun to hope. And so I was looking back at that night and I was like, oh, I actually don't wish that I had just stayed home in my bed. I'm really grateful that I put on an outfit and I went out and I was with my niece and I was with my friend and we had a good time and we experienced that together. It was a fun, hope-filled experience. The hope was the fun part. And another important lesson to learn is that it ended in disappointment and the hope still made it worth it. Now, I can't tell you that I'm ready to apply this to the bigger situation of the death of my child. The hope of his pregnancy does not make it worth the loss at the moment. That's why I'm in therapy, right? But it was really fun. I think sometimes when we're dealing with this really big, heavy stuff, learning how to hope again and learning how to trust again and learning how to have joy again, those are big. That's big, heavy stuff. That's not going to be solved in a day. But it's nice when we can find the low stakes examples of it. And Post Malone night was a good low stakes learning experience for me to apply to this journey I'm on of trying to find, experience, and trust hope again. when I say it's more fun to believe, it is. And the most painful times are when I can't. Hope is beautiful. It's the most powerful thing on the planet. And that's why it hurts so much when we can't have it, when we can't find it, when we can't force it, when we can't trust it, when we can't feel it. It hurts so much because it's symbiotic, right? And so 2 things. 1, keep fighting for belief and hope, because when we can get there, it really is, there's nothing better. And so I think it's worth fighting for. I think it's worth fighting through the darkness, both literally and metaphorically, to get to a place where we can believe, to get to a place where we can hope. I think that's worth the fight. I think we have to keep trying. But 2, whatever the big, heavy, intense stuff is in your life right now, maybe try finding some lower stake ways to learn lessons, to kind of build that trust back, or to build that hope back, or to build that joy back. And the thing is about that night is that the next night was NoahCon, which is the whole reason that I was going to the music festival. That whole experience was just such a good reminder to me that like having the experience is worth the effort. And the older I get, the more I just seek comfort and ease. And so I just am kind of like, oh yeah, it just sounds so hard to go out, or it just sounds so hard to make that work. And it just feels easier to opt out always. It feels easier to opt out of fighting for faith. It feels easier to opt out of relationships. It feels easier to opt out of trying. It feels easier to opt out of all uncomfortable, challenging, scary things for whatever reason. And I think it's all worth the effort. So this is a little bit all over the place, but hope itself is the experience, regardless of the outcome. So fighting to get to a place where you can actually let yourself hope for things is worth it, because bracing for impact and expecting the worst actually doesn't make the fall easier. And that's something I'm going to keep telling myself over and over and over and over again until my nervous system can somehow try to believe it and to accept it. I know it's true on paper. I know it's true by my own experience, but it still feels impossible for me. But I'm going to keep trying. And I hope you will too. I hope you'll keep trying to hope. I believe it's worth believing. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to wrap this up. I haven't really had funny sign-offs lately. We've been in a bit of a rut, but look at us. Look at us. We're still here. We're still trying. Love you. Bye.